How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel showing off Strange Adventures by Tom King, Mitch Gerrits, and Evan Doc Shaner, who I'll be referring to as Doc Shaner. Published by DC Black Label and retailing for $40 US. Nice hardcover, standard size. They did just release a deluxe edition. I didn't get that. I've had this copy for a long time. Dust jacket. I don't like them normally, but this one actually serves a purpose. As Adam Strange writes an autobiography in the book, this is the pristine copy, and this is the kind of copy that has been... his character is in question, let's say, and so they're vandalizing it a bit. And I really enjoyed the dichotomy of Mitch Gerrits' art versus Doc Shaner art on the cover. We'll get into that. Before I get too deep, I'm not going to be spoiling much, really. I'm going to be talking about the book, the basic plot, not going to give away the ending, no big plot points. I'll cover the first issue of plot, and then I want to talk about the thing that really drove home the problems people have with this book, which is they're very invested in their DC characters. They don't want to see them slandered or their character questioned, their morals questioned. This is DC Black Label. This is not in canon. It never was meant to be in canon. Anyone reading it who actually, if you like comics enough, Cape Comics, to care about Adam Strange as a character, you should be able to look at the cover and say, this is DC Black Label, this actually isn't canon, and so I will not get upset about things. But that doesn't matter. We'll get into that. Let's start at the beginning. Strange Adventures, Tom King writing. I love almost every single thing he's done. It seems to be a trend where after my yearly top-of-the-year list, I then read a Tom King book that I wish I would have put on the list. This book, I think, might be tied with Rorschach, not in terms of comparing themselves to anything else, but I just love both those books, and I really, really enjoyed this book. Mitch Gerrits and Doc Shaner split the art load, like panel to panel. You'll see these transitions, I think just on page 2 even. Mitch Gerrits, Doc Shaner, Shaner, Gerrits, just back and forth. Bunch of Shaner. We have Gerrits, Shaner. I mean, you can see the obvious style difference here. Gerrits a lot grimier, I think, but a lot more realistic and grounded, taking place on Earth, so that makes a lot of sense. Shaner being a lot more cartoony, stylized, classic pulp action hero kind of stuff, taking place on Ran. Don't know how to say it. I think I'm going to say Ran. So the story basically is Adam Strange returns to Earth after fighting a long war on the planet Ran, the planet where his wife and child live, and the planet where he gets beamed up to. I don't know almost anything about Adam Strange, by the way, so I'm not invested in this character, and I didn't get upset. But fights a long war there, comes home, he's hailed as a war hero, writes an autobiography, gets a lot of press, a lot of interviews, but then some stuff comes out. Maybe he did some war crimes, his character is in question, the actual war itself is in question, and he gets put under the... I guess he gets investigated by Mr. Terrific, the one who says fair play on his jacket. And that's been a great character throughout the series. Originally, he wants Batman to investigate him, but Batman's too close. They know each other too well, but he and Mr. Terrific apparently don't know each other much. And so it's basically going flashback, living through this war, while at the same time in the Gerrits parts, seeing the repercussions of his actions in the war, and kind of how things are falling apart. It affects his relationship with his wife. It affects his relationship with his child, I'll say. And it is extremely dramatic, extremely fun. Both the artists I absolutely love. Doc Shaner's a little bit more up my alley in terms of style, and I think the content of it was just, it's action-packed, sci-fi, like pulp sci-fi war stuff. So, it's going to be captivating. But the Mitch Gerrits art works super, super well in terms of conveying the more grounded side of the story, the more down-to-earth, investigative kind of... also, Mr. Terrific is just a wonderful character portrayed by Gerrits, and I don't think... Well, no, because Shaner's drawing the flashback, so he never draws Mr. Terrific. But, yeah, both artists killed it with what they had to do. There's one critique out of all the pages of art in this entire book. I don't like the weird digital fake light that Gerrits uses. Like there, for instance. I know most art is digital, and I don't care if art is physical or digital or traditional or whatever. You could do it in MS Paint, and if it looked good, I would love it. This panel specifically, that looks like the bad CGI you'd see in one of like the Star Wars prequels or something. I just don't like that fake light flare glow effect. I just think it looks a little too processed and almost like low-res digital art. I know it's not. And I love Garrett's art throughout the rest of this. It's not a problem with his art, it's a problem with this one effect he uses, but that's almost never a problem. It's just that one panel specifically. The thing I want to talk about most is the issue of canon and dedication to characters, and it's fine to love Cape Comics and to love your characters and to be attached to them and want to see their storylines continued and to be true to their selves that they were before. And so the next writer that comes along, he should have a proper voice for that character. He should treat it with a certain amount of reverence, and keep the character kind of consistent throughout these many, many stories, this revolving door that is superhero comics. I think that's fine. I think that's totally fine. I don't think I'm particularly attached to any one character in Cape Comics. Maybe Daredevil's my favorite, but I mean, if there's a run I don't like, I just don't read it. And then the stuff that's on my shelf, that's the stuff that is in canon for me. You make your own canon. That's how it should be, I think, because there's always going to be stuff you don't like and you don't throw a fit about it. This book, on the cover of every issue and every trade paperback and every hardcover, says DC Black Label. It's not in continuity. It was never meant to be in continuity. It's never going to be in continuity. Even if it is, just ignore it. People saying that Tom King sabotaged Adam Strange's character, its character assassination, all this stuff. That is ridiculous. This is a self-contained story. You don't need to know anything about any of the characters. I don't know anything about Adam Strange. Doc Shaner just destroying these panels. Mitch Garrett's has that's like a very NASA-esque spaceship. You don't need to know anything. And if you do know something, I think for a alternate timeline story, for an Elseworld story, you should set that stuff aside because it doesn't matter to these characters, to this setting, to this plot, because it's separate. This is Adam Strange. You've read Adam Strange before? This isn't the Adam Strange you're used to, and if he gets killed in this panel, it doesn't mean your Adam Strange is dead. It doesn't mean that if he kills an innocent person in this panel, it doesn't mean that your Adam Strange did that. It's not connected. No one gets that. I read a lot of stuff online when this was first coming out, because I read some of it in issues and then waited for the trade. And people are just pissed off, and I just don't get it. People are pissed off at a lot of Tom King's work because he likes to do really dramatic, really personal stories with characters that are in just, DC Comics, Batman, Adam Strange, Supergirl, what have you, Superman, whatever. But he does these stories that you can't tell in the regular timeline or whatever you want to call it. So he does them in Black Label. That allows him to do these things with almost no repercussions. The only repercussion is people not understanding what DC Black Label is. It's an Elseworld story. I'm going off on this, but your love for a character should not make you enjoy something less. If this is a good work, solid writing, fantastic art, I mean, it's fantastic writing too, let's be honest here. One thing dragging it down being that Adam Strange is having his character assassinated. That is ridiculous, and I think you're doing yourself a disservice and being far too beholden to characters that you have no control over, you never will have any control over. Even if you were to get a job at DC Comics and write them for 10 years, you would still, in the grand scheme of things, have almost no control over them. There's no reason to get bogged down in this sort of thing. There really isn't. I just wish Elseworld stories were treated with the same fair play. It should be fair play between Elseworlds and main canon stories. You should be able to treat them with the same level of respect, because some people that do understand that it's Elseworlds just won't buy it because they care about only the canon. That I find to be ridiculous as well, because you should love reading you can love comics for however you want. You should read them however you want. In my opinion, you shouldn't read them to further this 100-year-long plot line, and if this plot line isn't being furthered, you don't read them for that. It's a good story. It's great art. It's just a fantastic piece of art in itself. That's why you should read them, and that's what this is. If you love Adam Strange and this doesn't actually further his story in the grand scheme of things, and you don't buy it because of that, you're missing out on probably one of the best Adam Strange books ever made. I can't imagine he has a backlog that is anywhere near this quality. The book itself is just phenomenal. It covers so much ground in terms of exploring these characters and in terms of like the history of the setting and the plot. You're getting pretty much 12-issue series here. You're getting basically 12 full issues of flashback with the Doc Shaner art and the Mitch Gerrits art. That content is always in the background, in play, being talked about. His past actions are always being talked about. And conversely, in the Doc Shaner bits, everything you're seeing affects how you're seeing the Mitch Gerrits bits. Everything connects back to each other. He does something in Doc Shaner's flashback segment, and you go, oh shit, that means that he did this for this reason in the future bits. It all connects so lovingly. I think Tom King probably had a hell of a time plotting this thing. It all connects very, very well. Mitch Gerrits doing some really cool, I'll just call it post-apocalyptic Flash stuff here. Haven't been zooming in on the art much. My hands are really shaky today, so I didn't want to have to hold the book too much and just shake the book around. But you can zoom in if you need to. Hopefully it's high enough quality for you to do so. You really should be staring at these panels because they're really gorgeous. Yeah, so I did want to talk about the book a lot. I love the book. I think the book's fantastic. Tom King is just amazing. But I mostly wanted to just rant about how just being so beholden to these characters and these properties that are just properties shouldn't allow you to, or shouldn't dissuade you from enjoying something. I just read so much stuff online that I read bad reviews about books I like, and I just don't care because, I mean, it's so subjective. But it sucks when people are not enjoying something for a terrible reason. Like, they even say, like, this book would be fantastic. I saw a guy in a review, in an article on a website, so this guy, I think, got paid money to write the review, say that if this wasn't Adam Strange, that he basically would have loved the book. Like, if this was an indie book with all new characters. But that's what it is. That's what the book is. It's an Elseworlds book. He has the name Adam Strange. He has the costume. Those are trappings. It doesn't need to be that way. And in your mind, it cannot be that way. These characters, for all intents and purposes, are basically brand new. These exact versions of these characters will not be used again unless Tom King wants to come back, or DC, for some reason, wants to dig up the corpse of this book and give it to another writer, because they do that sometimes. But for all intents and purposes, this is a start to finish, full story, done with. You'll never see these characters again. You might see Adam Strange in a Justice League book, but that's not this Adam Strange. I'm ranting now, but don't let your love for characters, which is great that you love those characters and those storylines and you want to see them furthered. Definitely don't let that like bother you so much you have to write to Tom King saying you ruined your life or whatever. If you do that, you got your priorities all messed up. But even much less extreme than that, don't let that stop you from enjoying a great book. It's just crazy to me. It's not Adam Strange. If it bothers you that this is Adam Strange doing these things, it's not Adam Strange then. It's just someone else. Because the story still plays out just how it's going to play out, regardless of if it's Adam Strange or not. I think that's all I wanted to say. You should definitely read the book. It's pretty freaking great. Tom King hasn't had, I'll say it, he hasn't had a misstep since Heroes in Crisis, in my opinion. Heroes in Crisis, I don't even think it was that big of a misstep. The internet hates it. I thought it was, like, not great. I still read it. It was readable, and at times I would say it was good. You're getting a side review. Heroes in Crisis, decent book. Just that, in my opinion, Tom King's normal works are like 8 or 9 out of 10s, and that was like a 6 or a 7, which is probably like twice the score anyone else on the internet would give it. But just because it's a 6 or a 7 doesn't mean it's bad. It's still better than most comics. So there's my hot take, I guess. Yeah, Strange Adventures. Love it. Enjoy it. I hope you, if you are a huge fan of DC Comics or Cape Comics or whatever, and this bothers you, let me know your opinion, because I know I sounded like I was trying to put things objectively. Obviously, everything's just an opinion. My point is, I wish people could enjoy things more, and I think I hope my heart is in the right place. I'm not mad that they're mad. I just wish that they could love the things that I love. That's all it is. So if you had problems with this book, please explain to me in the comments why you felt the way you felt, because I would love to kind of get to know the other side of the story. I just never personally have had too close an attachment to any particular Cape character. If Daredevil like walked into a church in the next issue of Daredevil and like killed a priest, I would go, this isn't very good. And then I would wait for the run to end and I would read the next run. And that's all that would be. That's all it would be. But that's just me. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Sorry about all the ranting. Haul video this week. Peace.